see the pictures coming through now, at least. Yes, so things seem to be working. I can't really explain what happened. It is entirely possible that one of your esteemed colleagues was correct in that they decided to copy strike my stream for no apparent reason. So yeah, I don't know. Anyway, today we're going to talk about dates, how to get them, how to write them, how to read them, etc., etc. What did you think I meant? If I'm a little bit low energy today, it is probably because I probably poisoned myself and my wife with homemade pizza sauce that was too old and in the fridge too long. So I'm not feeling fantastic at the moment, but I'll try my best. Yeah, with respect to the copy strike, that's happened, like, if it was a copy strike, that has happened to me once before. It can happen if, like, someone in your house is watching TV in the other room, although it will not be audible to anybody on the stream unless you've got, like, signal processing stuff boosting the signal, boosting the audio signal. There, that's close enough that's like audible to the system that detects for copyright material. So, it is what it is, I guess. But anyway, so the way that things are going to go today, this is lecture 9.5, although what it should properly say is 9.3333. Essentially, there's not really enough material in the dates lecture to encompass an entire 3-hour lecture, which, of course, in the regular semester would be equivalent to 1 week's worth of lecturing. So we're going to cover it probably in the first hour, and then once it's been covered, I'll make a new stream. Oh my god. Mm. Okay. Yeah. Are we okay? Is this good? Do we have connection? Like, I've got a pretty good bit rate down here, but, like, I think that this is on YouTube's side, not mine. But anyway, I've got the chat also going on my phone, which isn't, like, I'm receiving more to it than this one. So there you go, unable to connect. Yeah, sometimes this chat freezes, and if you do a pop-out chat, then you'll get, like, the up-to-date version for whatever reason. Yes, I know, I've got the LAN cable, but, you know, it's just... Ugh. I can't exactly install it right now. Anyway, it seems like things are going all right at the moment. Let me listen to this and see how I'm doing. Okay, that seems to be okay. Anyway, as I was saying, there is, yeah, peak hours. Am I right? So, for those of you who may have missed it, I'm kind of low energy today because I think I poisoned myself with out of pizza sauce that I'd made that was too far gone in the fridge, but I didn't realize until I ate it on a pizza. The pizza was delicious, though. And the topic that we're going to deal with, one of the two topics we're going to deal with today, is dates. What's going to happen during the first break? We'll most likely be finished the material on dates, and then in the second half we will start our second topic for today, which is also kind of short and should take about 2 hours. So altogether, we're not going to be splitting topics across. We're not going to be splitting the topics across days, but there'll be 2 topics covered today. So anyway, that's where we're at presently. So let's get on with it. Dates. How to get them. Introduction. There are many calendar systems that have existed in the course of human history. You've got the Gregorian, the Bengali, the Chinese, the Ethiopian, the Hebrew, the Hindu, the Iranian, the Islamic. Historically, you've got things like the Julian calendar and the Mayan calendar and all of the interesting calendar systems. A calendar system is, of course, a means of keeping track of the movements of the celestial bodies, including the one that we currently inhabit. So, generally speaking, we are concerned with the number of day-night cycles that have occurred since a fixed point in time, and we are concerned with the number of lunar cycles. The months of the current calendar that we all use are roughly based on the lunar cycle. We also have a system of time that breaks a day down into smaller components so that we can, enter things into our Google calendars and stuff like that. So this is fine. This is good. It's good to have such a thing. However, there are a number of different complications that can occur with respect to trying to keep track of time. Keeping track of time is a somewhat more complicated thing than you might think, than it might give the impression of. For example, you have to keep track of things like daylight savings time, leap years and leap seconds. Time zones are a big one and a tricky one. Different and possibly ambiguous string representations of dates. For example, some countries do year, month, day. Other countries do day, month, year. I just realized I'm pointing backwards to you guys. And some people even do month, day, year. This is the world. And this is, let me just blow this up a little bit. This is the date format that countries around the world use in order to describe how they describe dates. So, yellow is year, month, day, biggest to smallest. Cyan is day, month, year, smallest to biggest. You can see that is possibly the consensus. The most countries seem to do that. Magenta, that's month, day, year. Only one country in the world that does that. I wonder that would be. And it's not on this, but Canada, you see red is both day, month, year, and month, day, year, and green is day, month, year, and year, month, day. However, in Canada, we actually use all three, just to show you what Canadians value. They value getting along with other people. So, in Python, let's see, day, month, year. Yeah, that is the global consensus, so more or less. I do agree. I do agree that day, month, year does make a certain degree of sense. That would be the little endian representation, yeah? Anyway, so working with dates and times in Python it's not overly difficult, but it is something that you should be aware of. So we have a date-time library in Python, which you can load up, import datetime, and then you can manipulate the various things that are provided by datetime, mostly a bunch of classes, that provide you useful things. So let's try it out a little bit. You've got a couple of things going on. Boop, boop. Import date time. So if we wish to record a particular date, we do it, largest to smallest. So 2020 6 8. There you go. Note how it formats it into something that's kind of pretty looking. If we wish to write a time, that is hour, minute, second. So, 17, 46, 24. There you go. If you wish to do both at the same time, you can also do that. Datetime dot datetime, 20, 6, 8, 17, 46, 24, although it's 47 now. There you go. So that encodes it as you might expect. So this is cool, this is fun. Date time objects can also be the keys of dictionaries, incidentally, if you're curious about that sort of thing. However, you get an interesting thing if you try to perform mathematics on these. So another fun one for you is datetime.now. Oop, datetime has no attribute now. I think it does, sir. Let me see here. Is it datetime.datetime.now? Yes, it is. So the purpose of doing from datetime import datetime is that ostensibly you might be, if you declare all of the things that you want to import from datetime, you don't actually have to do these extraneous dot syntaxes. You don't have to reference the class that you're importing, right? However, if you forget one of these things, just sort of leave it off, it still works. Dang it. Maybe I would have to reload the, I think that if I reload the notebook, then that will work. Or at least fail to work. Whoops. I just deleted it entirely. Well, that's one way to clear it. Good lord. So, if you import from datetime import date, time, and date, and you try to use time, it'll give you a name error. Time is not defined. So you have to import that as well. And there you go. So we have a question. What if you change the time zone on your computer? Well, if you change the time zone on your computer, I'm pretty sure that the date time library is reading your system time. So if it's reading your system time, then it'll just output whatever your system time is. So if you modify your system time, the old Animal Crossing exploit, then you should, in theory, be able to move time with respect to the, its appearance in Python. But anyway, if you want to see what time it is currently, datetime.now, you can see it's 2020, 6, 8, 17, 50, 30, and then it also gives you a number of milliseconds, which is cool. So, can I change my... Let's see if I can change my... time zone. Boop, boop. Yeah, see? It worked. It is just reading your system time. I'm going to change that back so that I don't forget that I did that, because that would be terrible. Watch, this will go to 17. There you go. So anyway, and you can see if you just, hammer that over and over again. Well, not in quite that manner, but this is showing you what the current time is. So in theory, if you have some date, like for example, date time object, it's 2020, 6th, 20th, I think it's the 20th. Yep. 9 a.m. and 0 minutes and 0 seconds. I wonder what date that is. It's the exam. If you want to see study time remaining is equal to the exam time subtracted from the current time. And then, if you print that, that's how long you have to study before the exam, folks. Ha ha. But you may notice that this is a somewhat different format from what we were. This is a somewhat different format from just a straight datetime object. In fact, this is not a datetime object. Let's see, what type is it then? Oop, gotta close my parentheses there. It is a datetime.timeDelta object. Time delta. So, if you want to perform some operation based on remaining time, right? Then, like, for example, if study time remaining is less than something, some x, right? Print, okay, now you can panic. X should also be of the datetime object. So, like, if you put like 9 in there, it's going to be like, what are you talking about? 9 doesn't make any sense. So, in order to do that, what you have to, well, first of all, you got to add time delta to your list of things that you're importing, or just import the whole dang library and do .datetime everything. But if you have a time deltas use the same format as everything else. So let's say if you're within 1 day, 4 hours, 5 minutes, and 30 seconds, then it is not yet time to panic. There you go. mm. Anyway, I don't know. It just makes a good example, you know. But yeah, so if you're going to do comparisons against these types of the results of these types of subtraction or arithmetic operations on dates and times, then you're going to have to use the time delta. You're going to have to construct a time delta object in order to work with that effectively. Incidentally, I think that you might not be able. This is just a minor note that has to do with how computers encode dates. I'm just seeing if they've addressed this issue. But it used to be that you couldn't actually have dates that preceded the 1st of January 1970. But in this case, you can, yeah, they fixed that. I was just seeing. Can it constantly update the time? Well, I mean, yes and no. You could, yeah, as Fat Fish indicates, you could just write an infinite loop that keeps printing the function, although that would get annoying after a while. But you know, perfectly possible. If we did while true, well, we don't actually want to do that. Print that. You can see that we're actually getting several executions in per millisecond interval, which is interesting. But, you know, yeah. 3, 2, 1. 11 days, 15 hours, 2 minutes and 2 minutes and 56, 55, 54, etc. Yeah, the speed of this would also vary on the runtime of the loop. It wouldn't. Yeah, this is not really a good way to do that. You know, but that's there. I'm not really. You'd have to start getting into UI stuff, which is kind of beyond the scope. So I'm just gonna leave it there. It's difficult to do if all you're doing is just using standard input and standard output buffers. Yeah. And yeah, it can only go to a certain precision. So, anyway, back to the slide. Time delta, date time, time, and date. All very useful things. Yes. Although I think that the internal clock of your CPU is every once in a while synchronized to the atomic clock, so, you know, it should be pretty accurate. Yes, that's true. You could tell it to sleep between printings. But, you know. At any rate. So we kind of talked about all this. So let's talk about strings. There are many string formatting options to print parts of datetime objects. You may want to be able to print stuff in an interesting and cool manner. So let's use strftime in order to do this. So that would be standing for string format time. So let's go back. Doop-a-doop-doop. print date time dot string format time, and then, so this is kind of an interesting thing. The way to correctly interpret this string that is being given as an input, whenever you see a %sign followed by a letter, you can think of that as a hole in the string into which the correct data from the date-time object will be inserted. So in the case of capital Y, that's the year. Lowercase m, that's the month. Lowercase d is the day. Capital H is the hour. Capital M is the minute. Capital S is the second. If you want the day of the week, that's capital A. And I'm sure there's a way to get the month in non-numerical format. Whoa, my goodness. For example, if we take a look at strftime.org, this will probably provide us some interesting and useful information. Yes. So there you go. This is, haha, everything that you need to know. So if we wanted the month, yeah, so B would be the name of the month. So if you wanted to format it somewhat more prettily, you could have the month space the day, comma, the year at and do we get morning versus evening? That'll be interesting. Ah, yes. Lowercase p. Oh. Exam. There we go. June 20th, 2020 at 9 a.m. at 9 in the a.m. So there you go. You can print things, you can format things however you want. This is cool. Similarly, if you wish to interpret a string in order to extract a date-time object from it, you can write the same string, but it will act as a parser. So a parser is something that reads a string and extracts data from that string. So if, for example, we saved this result as a string, copy that, and we wanted to print strp, p for parse, time, using the same string formatting. There we go. The first argument has to, of course, be the string that you're interpreting, I guess. Oh, yeah, okay. How is it called? Date time dot. There you go. See, it's put it back into sort of nominal date. Essentially it's using date times magic method for string conversion in order to demonstrate to us that this string has been interpreted according to this template and made into a datetime object. So that's cool. So let's talk about the tricky task of time zones. You have to be careful if dealing with date times that may involve multiple time zones. Python datetime objects can have a time zone set for them. It is then possible to convert between one time zone and another. So don't worry though, because we won't ask you to do this on the exam or anything. So the recommended thing to do is to keep all Python datetime objects in UTC time, which stands for Coordinated Universal Time. This is basically internet time. You probably want to convert to whichever time zone you're interested in or in for the purposes of printing. So does it default to the 24 or 12-hour time? Good question. This default, I believe this one defaults to 24-hour time because there's no, like, there's not necessary. Well, let's see. We can just check that. Ooh, okay. It doesn't seem to have much of an effect. That should have modified it. Well, at any rate. If 22 is valid, then it's a 24-hour clock. However, if you want to output things in, you know, a non-24-hour clock, then probably you will be finding an option in here somewhere which will do that for you. So, anyway, it's easiest to use the external package pytz to help with time zones. This can also handle light years, leap years, and daylight savings time, and all kinds of associated things. GMT stands for Greenwich Mean Time. Basically, for whatever reason, the time zero on the Earth is a line, a longitudinal line across the Earth, which passes exactly through the middle of Greenwich, England. And all time zones are tracked relative to that. So we can, from date time, import date time and time delta, and we can import pytz. Time zone is equal to pytz.timezone Canada Eastern. We have a before, we have a 1 second time delta. After is before plus 1 second. We can have a format, and then we can see what, we can have this done according to time zone. There you go. So, there you go. So that's how you can use the py time zone library in order to do some time zone shenanigans. And we can have even more complex examples with respect to all of this, which this is, not necessarily very, well, we can throw it in and see what it does. So this seems to be one of the Trump tweets from the Trump tweets thing that was previously used as an example. And don't you hate it when you have to do this? Oh, needs a... There we go. Maybe? My goodness. There. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know. It's just, it seems... it's the decision to put the prime meridian through Greenwich seems somewhat arbitrary, that's all. Although I suppose you have to pick somewhere for it. I'm sure there's a historical reason. Yeah, it is. To Mars Lettuce's criticism of the slide, generally accepted international time format should say roughly equivalent to GMT. Yeah, that's a typo. Yes, indeed. So anyway, you can tell what day of the week a particular person tweeted a particular thing using json.loads. Day is equal to dateutil.parser.parse t time strf time a, and then you can put the day. So there you go. There is some date related stuff. That is how to get dates. Har har har. There you go. Are there any questions? If there are no questions, then I'm going to end this live stream and create a new one for our next topic. Okay. I've tried to use this method to get dates and I've been blocked on all platforms. Ha ha ha. But I still liked and subscribed. Well, yes, like and subscribe, like and subscribe. No, yes. The actual secret to getting dates, I feel, if you want, if you want some life advice if you want some unsolicited life advice, I think that the secret to it is, first of all, knowing what it is that you want as a person from a romantic entanglement, like actually knowing what your goals are and finding someone who shares those same goals. If you share that kind of thing, then I think you would you would do pretty well together. You know, assuming you're all, you know, assuming all the other criteria are met. But anyway, I'm going to shut this down, and we will resume our live stream at 6:30. Thank you very much for your time and attention. Tune in to the next one.